Hey guys, we've got Marcus Alice Frishman. Math is here, and I was just having a dumpling break between shows there. Dumpling's gone, and Math was just saying to me, "I know what's wrong with your show."
Yes, I do. Well, I'm Marcus Allen Frishman, and you're not. So what I was saying to Archie was based on me watching him over the last few weeks and him announcing essentially the collapse of the Archie universe. I'm convinced in analyzing his recent shows that he is not doing what made him famous, what brought him here, the long lives, the boring subjects, let's be frank but polite. Archie needs to put on a suit, he needs to hold up a watch, and he needs to talk about what he knows about. The lifestyle of the rich and famous will follow him because he knows that lifestyle. He knows watches, he knows luxury goods, he knows something about being a gentleman, and that no longer exists here in the Archieverse. And we need to get back to that. And I think it will work for you.
I'm not so, look, I'm not so panicky, okay? I'm just telling you. I'm not so panic. I'm not so worried. I am trying desperately to keep the show afloat. Keep the show afloat, big boy. I'm trying to keep it afloat. Look, math.
This show is not helping that per se, but I'm glad to do what
I don't worry. I think it's time we just concentrate and do a good shows.
Fair enough.
Look, I can't always be jumping up and down and screaming and this and that. It's I tell you honestly, Math, just between you and me, one of the big donors has decided to leave. Yes, that was Tan. I thank him for his service, but I got to be honest with you, Math. I want to have my independence back.
That's okay, too.
I want to have my independence back because it was sort of chasing a lot of drama that I didn't really want to chase. So, Math, I'll be honest with you, the best content we do is with people like yourself. You are good. You are the essence of the Archieverse.
I will make a suggestion.
Math, I wouldn't worry, Math. I wouldn't worry. Don't worry.
All right.
Okay? Don't worry, Math. It will be better. It will be better, okay?
Fair enough.
And I think, Math, to be honest with you, look, we've gone through look, the world is I'll be honest with you, your friend in the White House has not helped my cause. It troubles me to say who I supported got it wrong, okay? And
well, let's wait that out. And you know, I don't like to get into politics and religion beyond saying I'm active in it and I believe in God. But Archie, I think on this show, we should have a theme each week. We can certainly deviate from the shame, and we can always hold up our watches. You know, I'm wearing the great glass shoot German watch today.
That looks beautiful on your wrist. That looks absolutely beautiful on your wrist.
I believe this watch may be one of the most beautiful diver style watches that they make. And you certainly know, if you know this company, they do detail beyond any imagination. They're just fabulous. And this little gadget here, this is amazing. Where is it? So you press this button and you get an extension. You press it again and it goes in. It's fabulous. Nice. Archie, I think we should have a theme, and I want to propose today, it's just a proposal, but because you're the pontiff, you're in charge. I would like to propose we talk about love. We talk about relationships, men, women, women and men. I suppose men and men, women and women, but we should discuss what works and what doesn't work in love.
Hey, let's go with it. Math, this is your show. This is the Marcus Allen Frishman live stream. We are talking love. To be honest with you, my first memory of love was watching repeats of The Love Boat in the 70s. Were you a Love Boat fan?
That was a great show. That was a great show. I was a kid. We watched it both probably as children. The Love Boat. I loved that.
The Love Boat saved the American cruise industry.
Yeah, I used to.
They were good times. The sad thing is, you know what happened to that ship, don't you?
No, that actual ship, no.
Yeah, the actual ship has been cut up in Turkey. It saw a rather unpleasant demise.
I was a Sitmar cruise man, Golden Circle, of course. And you know, in my day, as a college student and a high school student, when I went with my family, we had to put a tuxedo on for dinner. We had to rent a tuxedo or buy one. I had one to get on the boat because that's how you did it.
Oh, they had dress code.
Dress codes for dinner, not lunch. And 3 CDs.
Can I tell you a joke? Can I tell you a joke?
Yes.
Okay, I got a joke for you. So this couple, they decide to go on a cruise, right? They scrimped and saved. And what they've done is they brought their own canned food onto the ship, right? They ate crackers with the canned food. And on the last night of the cruise, they said, you know what? Let's go up to the big dining room and we'll get a meal. We'll have a meal. Only to then find out that the food was included.
God almighty.
You know what I'm saying? So life is like that. Everything in this world you can have. Like life is like a big buffet, but most people are starving. Does that make sense?
That makes sense. And it's because people don't avail of their opportunities, whether they admit it or not. Most people are followers, not leaders. They're sheep. And you know, you can't be a sheep. You got to be the collie sheepdog herder. So we're talking about love, and as a man who has, I might have to say for the record, never been married, but been.
By the way, can I just throw in a joke? Another joke. I got another joke.
Okay, sure. All right, go ahead.
This is a multi-level marketing joke. You know, that's like Amway, Life.
A lot of multi-level marketing is illegal in America, by the way.
I know. Did you hear about the couple who were the romantic couple, the husband and wife who were in Amway together? Did you hear about the newlyweds who joined Amway?
No, I have not heard about the newlyweds who joined Amway.
They hadn't done it yet, but it was gonna be great.
Well, Archie, a comedian you are not, but you know, we keep trying.
Yes. But you know what I'm saying? See, with this multi-level marketing, they always talk about the dream. The success in multi-level marketing is less than 5%.
I went to a multi-level marketing, and if I talk about it long enough, I'll remember the product. It's well known. It's escaping.
Herbalife?
No, older and more traditional. Anyway,
Amway?
No.
Avon?
No, it wasn't Avon. Amway. Anyway,
Tupperware? Oh, Tupper!
Not Tupperware. That was at least legitimate. That wasn't. That was anyway. Let me tell you my story about multi-level marketing, which has nothing to do about love. But I went to a multi-level marketing meeting.
I've gone to multi-level marketing meetings to find love.
Let me just tell you this. I'm at a multi-level marketing meeting in Pasadena, and I'm there for a specific reason. I have a tactic. I have a question. So it's a lovely dinner. Everybody pops onto the stage to talk about their successes one by one and how we're all going to make a fortune if only people at the table would sign up. And as I remember, this was a costly deal. This was a 2,000, 3,000, multi-level projects that you could buy into. You get the product. Forgive me for forgetting what the product is, and you sell it. So I had asked one question finally at the end. I said, I was called on by the host. This is a massive room with could have 400 people in it. And I had a mic, I'm standing next to a mic, and I said, I'd like to see a show of hands. So I was talking to the audience. I'd like to see a show of hands of how many people have made, and I came up with a dollar amount based on their formulas, X number of dollars by selling the product to someone that used it, not someone that was going to sell it to someone else. In other words, not part of the pyramid, outside of the pyramid. I didn't use that word then. And not a single person in the room, which was comprised of all the success stories and all the new shills that showed up, not one person would admit to selling it to anybody that used the product. The point is, these multi-level marketing system, you hire somebody to buy it from you, and then he sells it to someone else. And I said it has to exclude a family member, because I did get a few hands, as I now recall, and we learned they sold it to their brother, their sister, their family, their neighbor. No, 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 no. You sold it to a stranger. Who did that? No one. Well, that's the key to determining if it's the scam. A product has to be sold to customers, not to people that will sell it to someone else, or maybe just the casual sale to their neighbor or their family member. It's terrible. These multi-level marketing can be illegal in America when it triggers certain components.
Thank you for the story. Now let's getting back to love,
which we haven't gotten back to yet. So, yeah, love. So, first of all, I'm not per se qualified. I have no certifications in love, but I was a matchmaker for a year and 2 months. I worked for.
You are more qualified than most people. You have Miss Winkle.
Yes, I do.
And you also worked as a certified matchmaker.
I did.
In LA in the 80s, was it the 80s?
1991, first job out of college.
90s.
First job out of college, $12 an hour as a matchmaker, and they trained me, and a videographer and a person who helped people with their profiles. We had 6,000 members in Los Angeles. It was called Great Expectations. They had franchises all over the country. As I recall, there were at least 3 in Los Angeles at the time. And it was such a rewarding job, bringing people together, watching people get married or not, and at least making them happy. But I have only been single, I estimate, about 3 years, maybe more, maybe a little more, since I'm 15 and a half. And I've only had long-term relationships back to back. The longest, which was 14 years, and the shortest of which was, I believe, approaching 4 years. So I have, and since college, they're all great. Pre-college, I was learning. So they were a bit contentious, still long-term, but contentious. Whereas after college, my back-to-back relationships, my 5 fiancés, and don't start criticizing me. Yes, I wanted to marry them. Yes, they wanted to marry me. But by that time in my life, which was 1993 forward, I was living half a year in the Philippines. So my love life was centered around Philippine women who would not move to America, who would in fact marry me, but would not ever move here until Miss Winkle finally did. But so understand, that's how I get to so many fiancés. On the day I broke with each of them, we wanted to marry each other. We didn't have issues, but I could not have a long distance relationship any longer. And one was 8 years, one was 4 years, one was 4 years, one was approaching 4 years. So all of that 5 years, whatever the math is that goes from 2003 to 2022. But here's the key to love. And here's the problem with men. They marry their girlfriend. Now that sounds simplistic and cavalier, but men are attracted to opposites. whether they think about it or design it by design or not. That's who they go after. And opposites are fun. I did a lot of opposites pre-graduation of college. They're great. They're interesting. But let me tell you, that doesn't last. What you have to find is someone like you. That may or may not be boring, but you have to find someone that matches you in values. You have to find someone that matches you in how they think, hobbies. If you don't have that, that relationship will not last. And that's why I believe in the state of California, our divorce rate is over 60%, and that's at 5 years, 5 to 7 years, and it gets higher if we wait longer. I think America's divorce rate is overall over 50%, if I remember the stat. And again, that's within 5 to 7 years. And as you wait, it gets bigger. And that's because men make this terrible mistake. It's a mistake men make, and they need to fix themselves. Marry someone, get involved with someone who is like you. And the way you do this is you interview them. I was at a dating service. There was a lot of interviews going on there in that awkward situation in 1991 when I worked 1 year and 2 months after college. But you can do that in your relationship. When you meet a woman, don't waste time with 3 dates. Go out and ask questions. Have a questionnaire. Make it as informal or informal as you're comfortable with, but make sure she matches you. And if she matches you, move forward and just keep going until it doesn't work. But it should. And that's the key, because you men marry women that are opposites in every component. Well, she likes this and I like that, and we have our separate lives. You should always have your separate life. A woman needs her independence. She needs to have friends, even if you're married to her, that are male and female, that she meets with alone without you. You need to trust and empower a woman. She has to be independent. She must, because even if she chooses not to, that's a personality deficiency. So women need a lot of things in marriage, and men have trouble providing that. One last bit of advice on love. This one is going to be met with great opposition by women and men, but it works. Never win love. Never win a woman over. How do you win a woman over? On a small scale, you buy her a bouquet of roses, a chocolate box. Don't do it. If you want to court a woman, buy a rose, not a bouquet. Buy a chocolate bar, not a box. Don't win a woman over. Earn her love. And now a woman can learn to love a man. A man cannot learn to love a woman. A woman doesn't need physical attraction to make the connection. She needs a list of 6 or 8 or 9 things. Does he kick dogs? Does he believe in God? Does he like gardening? Whatever it is, that's how a woman's going to evaluate you. You men are going to look at a woman in 30 seconds to 45 seconds. You're going to determine if you're attracted. And if you are, now becomes the real problem. You might move forward caring about nothing else but how she looks. That's a problem. Or you might move forward caring about everything else about her. And then that's how you find your match. Be attracted, because God created us as visual. We have to be attractive. You don't like that, you women, you blame God, not men. And that is how we move forward to love and true commitment and long-term relationships, in short.
What a fabulous, fabulous explanation there. What a fabulous explanation there. I tend to agree with you. The other thing is, I'll tell you something somebody told me years ago. If you want happiness in your relationship, always have a mistress who is less attractive and older than your wife.
Well, that's interesting.
So when you go back to the wife, she's always more beautiful, more attractive, more younger.
Okay, let me process that for a second, because I've always believed in committed relationships. But let's go to that. Sure, that's just a personal belief. If you're going to have I suppose, Archie, you're absolutely right on that. But then why would you have a mistress? In other words, let me throw this out as a statement for a question. So one of the things I've advised before to women is to not worry.
Guys, don't forget to super chat now, and we can get your own perspective. Guys, the show depends on you to super chat.
And Archie, if they super chat, you might want to put them on. They might want to be on with us if they would like.
Oh, definitely.
They don't have to show their face, right? They can block
Correct.
it, and they can be live.
Turn the camera off.
Yeah. I've kind of
lost
train of thought where I was. So I don't know where
I must say one thing you've told me some wisdom is that you should never marry women who are substantially poorer than you.
Oh, yes. Oh, yes. Well, now that relates to my...
Now, the problem I have with that is if you were in the Philippines, and I don't mean to be rude or derogatory, but a lot of people in the Philippines, the wealth distribution is not like America. Okay, in the Philippines, you have some very wealthy, but many very poor.
Archie, that advice was only about the Philippines. It doesn't apply to the Western culture or America, certainly. It doesn't matter if she's poor or rich. There's no component that I think of that is affecting you. But in the Philippines, let's talk about a third world country where 80% are unemployed. There's 15 or 20% that are employed at low wages that share their wealth with 80% other families.
80% unemployed? Sorry, say that again.
And yeah, it's huge. It may have improved, but call it 70% if my stats are late and off. But that means a whole bunch of people are working, but they're working at low wages because of the nature of the culture. When a brother earns money, he gives it to the sister and the mother. When the sister earns money, she gives it to the brother and the parents. So that portion of the Philippines we might call middle class really isn't, but let's call it that because I don't know what to call it. The middle class share their wealth. So in essence, they become poor as well. That leaves, here's the number. It comes from the government and it is a bit old, 2019, 4.5% are super rich. They are equivalent, ready for this, to the 1 or 2 or 3% of Americans. That wealth is massive. It's 4.5% of the population. The population is, forgive me for forgetting, 120, 130 million. It's 30 million people in Manila. And this wealthy population is based in Manila. They have homes all over the Philippines. And this is a massively wealthy group of people. They're a class society. So there's malls for the rich, malls for the poor. And their whole society is structured with a class system that they even label. Class A, Class B, Class D. I'll hear people say, oh, Marcus, they're D class, they're B class. And somehow they sort that out. But this works in the Philippines because you'll never know if the woman really loves you if she comes from a poor family. And it's very easy to meet a woman because they're in volume and they're around everywhere. And the culture allows you to approach them in the Philippines, wealthy family women. I say family because usually the daughters and sons are tied to a wealthy family of parents that are married. At least the presumption is that you're marrying into a wealthy family, and everything stays tied together in the Philippines. In America, you know, we separate from our parents and move on. This is different in the Philippines. They're tied as a unit, and they have a word called kuya. It means brother. And who do they call brother? They call strangers brothers. They call cab drivers brothers. They do that because their culture binds everybody together as close. You feel obligated to help strangers. In America, we ignore strangers. If our brother couldn't pay his phone bill, we wouldn't even know it. He wouldn't tell us. We wouldn't help him if he did. So we have a different culture. In the Philippines, they share their wealth, and the rich women there, rich men, are who you want to pursue if you want real love without any question that they're not seeking advantages. That's not to say a poor woman who's after your money can't learn to love you.
Yes.
All right. So let's put that out there. But it's a little advice to make sure.
Very, very interesting. How have you found the pursuit of wealthy women? What questions do you ask to make sure they really are wealthy?
Okay, good question. Okay, so in America, I compare, and in Western cultures that I've seen, you cannot look at someone and know if they're wealthy generally in a routine day outside passing people, okay? Or at an event or at a restaurant. You can't do it. In fact, the poor in America scrounge up every penny they can, to buy the best set of clothes and the best car they can. It's our nature. But in the Philippines, those luxury items are so massively far away from any hope of ever having it that it's easy to spot. And let me give you one example. So there's a restaurant called TGIF Fridays. It's a simple restaurant in America. It's a chain restaurant. It's one of the least expensive restaurants in 100 of them in Los Angeles. It's a massive chain. Yeah. I don't know if you know it. It's international, and it's in the Philippines. It costs about 700 to 1,200 pesos to eat at a single meal at TGIF Friday. That represents, if you get the cheapest meal or within that range, that represents 2 days' salary for the average Filipino. And I already told you the average Filipino doesn't work. So, but the ones that work, it is the average salary. So that means, let me ask you something. The last time you were ever taken out for your birthday, I can't stop this noise. I don't know what to do. If you were taken out to your birthday as a poor person in America, would they take you to a fine steakhouse? And would they spend $80 on you for dinner? Sure. But in the Philippines, conversely, there's no poor person having a birthday party at Friday's restaurant. That's how poor it is. So that should indicate to you, you can spot by going to the right places. Also, the Philippines excludes people. I used to give away my free breakfast meals. I get free meals at the Etsa Shangri-La Hotel. It's the finest hotel in Asia, second or third finest in the Philippines. I mean, with 2 other hotels equally. And I would give them those passes to poor people in the street. And I was called to the general manager's office. He was a German. Wolfgang was his name. The second in command of the hotel was really in charge. She was an established Filipino woman. And they said, Marcus, you cannot do this. We're not going to let these people in our hotel. They're being stopped. They don't come in. And I learned they identify them by their clothes. They stop them. And of course, then they flash the tickets I gave them for the free buffet, which is about 1,000 pesos at the time. That's about $25 then. And they won't let them in.
Yes, keep going.
The Philippines treats poor people very badly. It's an oligarchy that runs the country. And it's an oligarchy of old families and some new families that have the wealth. And they own the industries. And it's a monopoly. So there's one guy or two that own every mall in the Philippines. There's one man who owns all the Chow Kings. There's 2 men, 2 or 3, that own the McDonald's. That's how it goes. That's how it is in every industry in the Philippines. Monopoly by the wealthy families.
Yes. So why didn't you find someone to give the voucher to and say, come and eat with me? Well, I
wouldn't eat there. I hated that food. I don't like Filipino food. That's a side topic. So I go to the American. So I couldn't eat at that restaurant in the hotel, and I couldn't eat at the hotel. I could not even eat their American style food that was local Filipino. That's just personal to me. So I go to corporate restaurants when I'm there, Fridays, Chili's. I do go a Pancake House, Taco Bell, the KFC, some fast food, some luxury restaurants. There are some independent Philippine restaurants, which are quite good, that are exceptional because they get their meats from Australia, oddly enough. And
so what you're saying is, okay, gee, this is so interesting.
I can't eat a Filipino chicken at what's called the House of Chicken or whatever the hell it's called. It's chicken. I love chicken. I can't eat that local chicken. And at the hotel, I ate an egg. I'll never forget it. I was 2003. I was in the hotel for the first time. I looked at this beautiful buffet and I had eggs. And I said, "What's wrong with these eggs, Romeo?" to my host. He says, "Marcus," and he's a Filipino and American, so he'd eat. They said, "Marcus, those are goose eggs. They're considered a luxury here." Goose?
Yes, goose eggs, goose or duck.
They're foul. I said, "They have so many chickens in the Philippines." He says, "Those are for the poor people. They're not going to be in this hotel. You can order them. They have them. You have to ask for them." Oh my God. So I couldn't eat that. Then I ordered the spaghetti bolognese. It was like eating ketchup. It was full of sugar. They put sugar or something in the spaghetti bolognese. It's a Philippine thing. So then I ordered a burger. You think that would go bad? I don't know what kind of cheese they put on that thing. But anyway, so I just stick with American restaurants, American corporate restaurants in the Philippines, with some exceptions. That's my opinion on Filipino food. But look, there are Americans who love Filipino food. They love it. That's just not, you know, that's not me. Whatever. That's a personal preference.
A very, very interesting story. So basically,
you know, the Philippines is a matriarchal society, meaning it's really the households are run by women, not men. The women are the stronger in the nature. Women are favored for jobs. In the Philippines, they'll say women only on many jobs. They won't hire men. And they give an age range of about 21 to 28, maybe 32. They won't hire. And then the ads, they'll say, "We want you to have straight teeth and be beautiful." I'm not joking. Straight teeth and be beautiful. And these are American companies like that Citibank. I saw the ad from Citibank. Straight teeth and straight teeth and beautiful presence, or whatever the language was, because they can get away with that. It's a highly sexualized society. It's very liberated, despite the fact they believe they're Catholic. They are a Catholic country. It's institutionalized, but it's hypocritical because every mall you go into, there's these sexy girls in sexy little outfits. And what are they selling? They're selling cell phones. They're selling sofas. And they come out showing cleavages, and their butts are showing because they're in very tight, skinny things. I mean, if you did that in America, this great liberated society, and I live in Los Angeles, the most liberal city of the nation, maybe next to New York City or the same, you would be boycotted. If you put a sexy girl outside of the Pac Bell office or the T-Mobile office or the Sprint office, the phone companies, you would have protests. And I remember in the 70s when Calvin Klein did some ads with men in underwear and girls in underwear. Really sensual or verging on sexual ads. They were protested, and their value collapsed. So they are a highly liberal society, but they don't know it. They don't admit to it, but it's obvious, and they're highly sexualized. I think it's a very bad thing. They sexualize women at a low age, just by virtue of the culture. When you drive around the city, you see American corporate posters of sexy women selling everything. I don't mean just beautiful women. I mean, they're showing off, if you know what I mean, on giant billboards on the largest streets of the Philippines. It's just wrong. But, you know, when in Rome, you do as the Romans do. I just go with it.
Tell me this, Math. Okay, let me ask you this question here. I've watched some of the Filipino sites on YouTube there.
Yeah.
And the big thing is, so many of these Filipinos are desperate to find a good American boyfriend or husband.
Yeah. They need to take care of their family. If you meet that woman.
What happens? What happens when there's been some horror stories is when the man has succumbed to the woman and he basically trusts her. He uses the same values that you'd use in America of equality and let's work on it together.
Right.
She will totally take advantage of him.
She will do it without evil. If now this is controversial, but if an American woman does that, it's evil. If a Filipino woman does it, it's not. it's necessity, it's practicality, it's how they are. First of all, listen to this. They have a word in Filipino called pasalubong. I believe I'm pronouncing it correctly. It's Tagalog, pasalubong. I don't know how to spell it. It's a long word. Pasalubong. Look it up. And I'm going to tell you what it means. It means, where is my gift? You traveled and you should have brought me back a gift. It's a gift relating to traveling or relating to visiting someone who you haven't seen in a while, kind of a couple of dual purposes. And they will say to you straight out within seconds, where's my pasalubong? Which is, where is my gift? I mean, can you imagine in America showing up to someone's home and they say, where is my gift? Or you're meeting someone in the mall for lunch, where is my gift? Or you're going into a corporate meeting with rich people, where is my gift? Because it's universal. They have their hands out and they're expecting a gift, and they have a word to describe it. And when you travel with a Filipino, as I have, I've had committed relationships, they will make sure before they get back on that plane to get back to Manila, they buy their pasalubongs for dozens of people. I mean, remote cousins, you know. I'm not exaggerating on this one. I'm an exaggerator. I get it, but not this time. I can't.
We're going to super chat in. Black Cat 997, $10 is the deportation of former President Duterte to The Hague legitimate, or is this part of a corrupt politics that Americans can't understand? How do I pronounce his name?
Right.
President.
Yeah.
What's that?
The Philippines is not a signer or a party to The Hague and hasn't been for years. Whether Marcos recently signed up, I don't know. Remember, I'm not monitoring this daily, but over the course of time, they have not been a signer of The Hague and don't recognize the status. However, the current president, despite the fact that Duarte's daughter is vice president, has a grudge that developed over time with Duarte. So he is the man who got him, not The Hague. He and Filipino authorities turned the president over to The Hague on his return travel from China or Hong Kong or wherever he was at. And they did it. I am shocked because I'm a big supporter of Marcos, but I think this was pure evil and very personal, but that's how it gets in the Philippines. And Duarte's charges, oddly, are not, and I looked at the charges at The Hague, they're not during the time he was president, although he ordered the same types, well, it's alleged he ordered the same types of drug killing people that, was distributing drugs. He had them allegedly summarily executed without trials while he was president using law enforcement. They have a national police force. However, the charges are restricted only to the time he was mayor in Davao. And it's 37 or 32 families, 30 plus families specifically who will be the witnesses. I wonder why I'm having a glow here. The sun is setting. So there's some 30 families that are the witnesses, and they're all from the days he was mayor of Davao, which was way before he would ever thought of becoming president. When he was in Davao, I got an invitation, I think 2004, to visit him. And I said to my host, Romeo, why would I go visit this guy in Davao that runs around on a motorcycle and supposedly, the law enforcement there goes after everybody? It was the safest place to be or live in the Philippines is the island of Davao. He became president as a populist, like like Trump. And he and Trump got along very well. In fact, Donald Trump isn't big, as you may or may not know, on, I'm having a lighting problem because of the window.
You look perfectly fine.
All right. So Donald Trump doesn't do too many what's called state dinners, fancy, fabulous dinners where you invite a leader of a country. Duarte was invited. and he was the first to be invited. And he turned it down with the public excuse of, I don't like to fly long distances on planes, which is true. So they were quite well connected to each other. Despite his anti-American flair, Duarte, it was because he was a true populist and cared about nationalism like Donald Trump does. So he spoke negatively about America, but he was a dichotomy like Donald Trump. He was our best friend.
Got you. There we go. I hope that answers the question, Black Cat. That was interesting. They rounded up these drug dealers.
Yeah.
I suppose the thing I had troubles with was the fact that they got rid of them without trials. I mean,
yeah, that is a thing.
It's kind of a technicality, isn't it?
Yeah, it's it has plausible deniability because he said he didn't know about it. It's alleged. It is alleged, but what wasn't alleged was the bodies that were showing up, and all of that.
Tell me this, looking for love in the Philippines, right?
Yeah, I'm having a problem with lighting.
Now, you look perfectly fine if you stop mucking around with it.
All right, well, I'm going to go back to my original
Now
spot.
you've just wrecked it. It was fine before.
What's happening? Because I have a window that's shining a direct light on the camera. Okay, there we go.
That's perfect. It's quite interesting. I did see an interesting documentary a number of years ago on YouTube. I can't remember the name of it, but it's a story of this white guy who was in Africa. He was absolutely, completely fucking broke. And he befriended these women, one woman, and he lived with her. And then she eventually kicked him out because he had no money.
Right, we have stories.
And she made the comment, he's behaving like a local man.
We have comments like that in the Philippines only because...
And it was hilarious because she assumed because he was white, he had access to money and access as they would assume. And it was kind of hilarious. The thing is, in the Philippines, the big disaster is that foreigners cannot own land in the Philippines.
No, you can't own land, but you can own condos. And the way it's worked in the Philippine...
No, but that works so well for these women because they say, don't worry about it, darling. We can put the land in my name. We're husband and wife. And put the land in my name and we build a nice home.
Yeah, yeah.
When the divorce comes,
there's no divorce.
He's entitled to absolutely nothing.
There is no divorce in the Philippines. There is something called annulment. But that's
a Catholic thing, annulments.
That's a Catholic thing. Anyway, the point is there's no divorce allowed. The Philippine Constitution prohibits foreigners from owning land. There have been many proposals year after year to remove that. But like an American Constitution, it's tough to, I don't know the protocol, but it is tough to change. And in America, the constitutional amendment is almost impossible. So it doesn't get changed. The way they get around it is this. Condominiums can be 49% sold to foreigners. The other 51% has to be Filipinos. So condo buildings are the exception. That's how I have my condo eventually. And that's how the client bought me. Boy, this is really bad.
Can you close the window?
Hold on. Stand by. I got to close the... We have...
This is the Marcus Allen Frishman show, guys. We are here with Math.
We have sunset in America, Los Angeles, and it's affecting my screen. And I should point out, I would not normally have a background, but the system has some anomaly. It's showing that there is no background selected, but it will not remove this stupid background. So, all right, Archie. So thank you, Black Cat, for giving us a little help. But what about all these other generous people here?
Yeah. Matt, tell me this. If you fall in love with a Filipino woman, right?
Yeah.
the old joke. How can you tell when a Filipino is lying? Her lips are moving. Tell me this. How do you avoid, if a American marries a Filipino lady and then she says, I've got to send money back, I've got to do this. How does he say, no, that's not how we do things? Or is it too late by that stage?
Repeat that question exactly. What do you ask?
In the Philippines, the women will often marry the man and then say, hey, we have to send money back to the family. I want to send back. How does the American or foreign boyfriend or husband say, no, I'm not doing that?
You can't. What you do is this. So if she's married to if you're marrying a somewhat wealthy family, you won't get asked. If you're going
will
to
they give you money if you are poorer than them? Will they contribute?
Yes, they will. But let's go to the category that you're referring to. So what you do, this is my advice, because I've given this advice to men in the Philippines who have asked me, and it's just something I've thought of. It's not something I've experienced. You have to turn to your woman and say, look, you can give some of your salary. You can give some of your salary rather than contributing it to the household like a normal American woman. Send some money to your family. Now, in the Philippines, you talked about a minute ago, I'm going to make a tie-in. You talked about Filipinos and Asians believing that Americans and Westerners and Australians are just rich. Well, guess what, Archie? With very few exceptions, they all are. I'm going to give you a number. And this is a pretty good, this is way higher than you're going to hear on any of those YouTube videos that say how cheap it is to live in the Philippines. This is a really good number. $2,500 a month to $3,000 a month. You will have a full-time driver. You will have a luxury apartment. You will be traveling multiple times a year on multiple times a month on a plane. You will fit a outside laundry service. You will eat 14 meals a week. That's your number. Now, what's my personal number? My personal number is a little higher than that. I won't bore you with why, but because I've been there since 2003, 4 months a year till 2022, when I had no reason to go back because my girl's here, I will tell you that's all you need. Now, could you live there on $1,500 a month in an apartment? Yeah, you're not probably going to have a driver, but you'll still have a live-in housekeeper, and you can live massive luxury there. And let me throw out another number. Let's throw out $8,000 a month. Okay. With the exception of buying a significantly luxury condo, because you can't buy a home, remember, with that one catch, because you can have a really nice luxury condo. I mean, I lived in the building of Manny Pacquiao. You know how rich he is. The point I'm trying to make is, at some point you make so much money or have so much money a month, you can't spend it. And that's why, could I spend $8,000 a month in the Philippines? Absolutely. I would take a helicopter to my remote beach condo instead of driving it. That would be $60,000, 60,000 pesos a trip. That's roughly, I'm forgetting the math. It's $1,000, $1,200, $1,300 each way. I would do that. I did it once. I didn't do it every time because it's, that would turn my budget from under $4,000 to $8,000. But at $8,000 a month, I can't imagine you would need one penny more unless you're buying luxury goods. There are some exceptions to these guidelines. I'm talking about rent, housekeeper, personal assistant, live-in personal assistant, live-in housekeeper, a driver. And I'm not talking an American driver that shows up at 8 in the morning, has to have a lunch, 2 10-minute breaks, and then is off at 3. I'm talking about a driver that comes at 8 and leaves at midnight, and he gets one day off a month. That's their protocol. I don't do that. I have 2 drivers when I had drivers, and I would give them complete off on the weekends, and I used taxis. That's what I did when I had drivers, which was only the first 6 or 7 years in the Philippines. I gave up drivers for my own reasons. So life in the Philippines is Everyone is rich. If you can have $2,000, you have a lot of money in the Philippines, considering very few people, 80% of the population does not have that. 80%, let me repeat it so they don't think it's cavalier. 80% of that population does not have $2,000 a month.
2,000 US a month, you're saying?
And I believe that's what you make. What is it? What's the math on this? Isn't that what you make in a part-time job at McDonald's nowadays in America? I've lost track. In LA, we're at $30 an hour almost. So we're very high, and you have you get health insurance, 2 10-minute breaks, one, your lunch break, your schedule can't be changed. The employer means everything. In the Philippines, employees have no rights. They make 400 to 600 pesos a day, and it's for all jobs. I don't care if you're a secretary or you're sweeping as a janitor. You make 400 to 600 pesos a day. Now, who are the high-paid jobs? Call centers. When Americans call centers, they're thinking they're talking to some third world idiot on the phone. Let me tell you who they're talking to. They're talking to the sons and daughters of the wealthy and the middle class, which we know isn't a middle class. We're just calling it that. And they're highly educated. You're talking to pharmacists who can't get a job. You're talking to nurses who can't get a job. You're talking to engineers who can't get a job. That's who's answering the phone for Bank of America. The wealthy and the educated in the Philippines, and it's top pay. What's top pay for those jobs? I've lost track exactly, but that has to be around $35 to $40 a day entry level, and a supervisor and a manager would make more. That's big money for the working class in the Philippines. And the son and daughter of the wealthy are who's the preferred working class. They can't get a job in their profession, and that's why so many Filipinos leave the country. We only hear about the poor Filipinos, but the fact is, Filipinos are prepared to leave their country for 2 years at a time, whether they're going to take a job at a high corporate level or they're going to work as a low-level person, and other countries take advantage of them. And Archie, I think your country does the same thing. Your country, Canada, all the Western countries but America, will let someone work at a second-rate wage. America doesn't do that. If you come to America,
no, we don't allow that.
You don't allow that? Okay, well, Canada does.
No, because Hong Kong, Singapore does.
Okay,
but Australia, there is a set wage that applies to everybody.
My friend working at an Arby's, which is like a low-level McDonald's, it's an old-fashioned chain, but they're apparently still in Canada. She's making $800 a month with no benefits. That's a lot of money for a Filipino. And she's getting room and board somehow. But the Canadian is making $2,000 and $3,000 a month at that exact same job. Those are real numbers. And
but the problem is, in America, it's so expensive to live. $2,500 a month. You can't survive in LA. I just got to turn something on.
No. Rent in the Los Angeles area for a bad neighborhood, a really low-level apartment. I don't want to characterize, but I'm going to throw out, housekeeper salary, but maybe husband and wife working together, is around $2,000 a month, $2,000 and up. There's virtually nothing in any part of Los Angeles that's under $2,000 for a one-bedroom. Get something.
We got another super chat. Black Cat 997, $5. I work with the people who are talking about as blank employees in the Philippines. Excellent people.
Yes, right. He's right. Top-notch people, professionals. Well, any Filipino related to work, they take work very seriously. We've been kind of negative on the Philippines. We should probably talk about, because it's easy to pick up on all the negative stuff. It's sometimes funner to talk about, but the Filipino people, they have this thing called Family Day. It's on Sunday, and it's where families get together. Everybody gets together, and I mean everybody. I mean, a family is not mom and dad, son and daughter. It's extended. It includes friends who might not have a lot of family because maybe they're living in Manila without a family and their family's in the province. It's a fabulous tradition. It is every Sunday is like a holiday. It's called Family Day. And when I was dating Filipinos, I would the whole day we would have
Were
to
you
be
invited?
of course, and I would have to go or not. And I chose to go every other Sunday. I felt like I was almost intruding on the party, but yes, it's a wonderful, wonderful thing. And Filipinos are so polite. Now, I'm going to be negative again. So polite that it sometimes is a problem. They won't say no. They won't correct you, and they won't give you the truth if it's negative. And this causes tremendous frustration because, particularly in the service industry, if you're in a hotel, an example, you'll be told something and then it doesn't happen. But why is that? Filipinos don't view lying as a great sin like in America. And I've always felt if you lie and you admit to it, you get punished. An admission of a lie is a punishment. In the Philippines, when you've lied or said something you're caught on that's not true, and you say you're sorry, you're absolutely forgiven and you're given a pass. So the Filipino culture is quite forgiving on these things. They will dote on you. You know, when you meet a Filipino and if they care about you, they're going to care about the micro components of your life. Your girlfriend, no matter what class she's in, she's going to text you and say, did you eat your lunch? Don't forget to eat on time. To keep yourself hydrated. You know, what American girlfriend sends you a text about keeping yourself hydrated? But they don't do that just to me. They do that to it's a thing. They do it to their family members. They care about every component of your day when you interact with a Filipino, no matter what your relationship is, father, mother, brother, sister, worker, and they'll care about you.
I see.
It's
incredible story there. Tell me this, when are you and Winkle getting married?
Well, no date. I have to.
Am I invited to the wedding?
Well, sure, Archie, if you wanted to come, but I have a feeling we've talked about doing it in Hawaii with like a witness and, you know, maybe some turtles. So I don't, some beach turtles. So I don't know that we'll have a crowd, but I suppose that when it comes to it, we're going to have to think it over. But that's what we've talked about. By the way, there's some guy that says fish and chips, man. Fish and chips in the Philippines, they use, I love fish and, I'm not a traditional fish and chips. You know what that is. It emanates out of England. But in the Philippines, they use this fish. If there's a Filipino here, you've got to correct me. My memory serves me. It's called dory. And it is greasy, slimy fish. I can't order fish and chips in the Philippines. Even at the American restaurants, some will serve the dory instead of, I believe it's cod, isn't it? Cod? Yeah. So yeah, the food, I just can't take it. I'm sorry to say. Filipinos are so proud of their food. I remember one of my girlfriends said, Marcus, you know, we never eat in. We always eat out. Even our snacks are out. May I have permission to cook you a meal? And I said, I'm not going to give you any direction. Have at it. She cooked a beautiful, we had to go to a different location because my house isn't equipped. Although I have a stove, we didn't have any utensils or things. So we went somewhere and she cooked me a beautiful steak. Her name was Tessa, my first girlfriend in the Philippines. Beautiful steak, a beautiful salad with all the accoutrements on it. And this wonderful Filipino cheese. I got to tell you, there is a cheese and they call it Filipino cheese. And it's white. I don't know what it is, but it is, I have gotten a taste for it. It is delicious. They can't cook pizzas. They can't make bread. Now, I don't know what that's about. Even at the highest end stores, they're not importing American, Australian, or English breads. They're using, I think they're, someone once told me they're not using yeast. Although that's a rumor. I don't know what's wrong with the bread, but none of the bread in the Philippines tastes right. And that gets us to pizzas. Don't bother.
Yes.
Dough in the Philippines is a problem. I don't know what that, and that goes to cakes. I think they fail to use certain dairy in their and yeast and things that they should be part of baking. They don't do it. I don't know what that is. I'm not a baker, but something's definitely missing.
Wow, amazing stuff. It's
This
man,
show
you
is
have
supposed to
lived.
be about love. So people are going to say, well, if you're in love, why not let your wife, if she's a Filipino, since we're focused on that, have her name on the property only? Well, to each, I say to each their own. If you want to do that, go ahead. I tell you, when my wife in the Philippines has her name on the property, it will be because her father bought it, and I will gladly live there. Thank you very much.
Tell me this, Marcus.
Yes.
Are you looking for? When are you looking at getting married yourself there?
Well, you know, Archie, we've revisited this, and maybe marriage, this is going to be a shocker. I use the term marriage, but I really mean a life partner. And whether it's really marriage or not, I think marriage is a necessity for certain reasons I won't go into when you have children. And I don't necessarily have a plan with Miss Winkle to have children, and she does not either. But remember, I also said to her, it's your choice, and I'll go along. And I'll even adopt if you want as well. But right now, the decision, no children, but that could change. You know, women, it's a women thing. Whatever woman you have, they do change their mind. And I can be completely flexible on that. But the truth is, I've never had a desire to have children in my life. I've thought about it many times, but never thought I would want one. And I don't particularly like children. How about that one? Let me say,
how expensive are cars in the Philippines?
Extremely expensive. So things are cheap in the Philippines that are related to domestic products and anything service, hourly, people related. But the things that are absolutely crazy that I would almost never buy in the Philippines are designer clothes. I wear a particular Kohan shoe. It's called the Tucker. It looks like a penny loafer. I like it. I've worn it for decades. It is $120 in the Philippines, and I can buy it at Nordstrom's at a top classy store in America for $79, and I can get it for less if I go to some some shoe stores. Now, with regard to cars, same thing, crazy expensive. I mean, I went to buy a car. I went in to the BMW dealer near my home in Eastwood City in the Philippines. And I'm forgetting what year this was. This would have had to be when I had the condo already. So it had to be after 2010 or 11. And I learned that the 3 Series, which we could have gotten in America at full price at $33,000 that year, I think. The 3 Series without any extras, a simple car, was $68,000. That goes to the tariff issue. Now, they called it taxes at the time because I wasn't educated by Donald Trump yet on the tariff matter. But that's what that was. And that's how it is. Used cars, by the way, 10-year-old cars are very expensive because everything is kept. First of all, they fix stuff in the Philippines. You know, in America now, I have an older BMW I bought new in 1997. I drove it 4 years. It's like new. I kept it. I have repair shops, German-focused repair shops. Says, Marcus, we'll change your oil, but we really won't fix it. We don't fix old cars anymore. Reason for that, that's complicated to get into. But the point I'm making is in the Philippines, they fix stuff.
You remember Sesame Street as a kid? They had a fix-it shop. They used to fix stuff. Nobody fixes anything.
No more. They just replace.
Who's fix-it shop?
All the major car manufacturers now won't fix anything. You know that. They'll want to replace. That's what they do. So very few things have adjustments or fixed. Just buy a new part, pay the labor. That's what they do. In the Philippines, they fix everything. So they have all these old cars. Now, I looked at sending my car there. I decided against it very quickly when I made the decision I will never drive in the Philippines for, again, other reasons. That's another path of discussion. But it would cost about $3,000 to get my car there on a ship. Here's the problem at the time. If the car is under 10 years old, there's a massive tax, which is so massive, that it would make it prohibitive because they want you to buy the car there. Once it's 10 years or older, and forgive me, it could be 12 years, 13 years. I don't know the current law, but it's a number of years. Then it's okay. But if you want to buy a car in the Philippines, you really have to have some money. It's much easier. And this is why many wealthy people don't have a car. When I say wealthy, it's a category for which they're being able to have a driver, but they're not able to buy a car. A driver is about 15 to 20,000 pesos a month in the Philippines. So that's, I paid my driver more. I'm an American. I don't use Filipino numbers, but that would be about 15 or 20,000 pesos. What is that now in the current rate? 56 to 1. So that's, it's under $400, whatever it is. And it's very cheap. So you get lots of
15,000 pesos is 800 US.
All right, fine. Yeah, because it's 15,000 is 800. Yeah, that's about what you'll and they're there all day, every day if you wanted them. But I can't.
Yeah. So basically, the exchange rate is
what's it? 56.
53.
Okay, the highest it's ever been in my knowledge has been 57, 58, and it had hovered at 43 for more than a decade. So it's pretty good. That's a pretty good rate. And it stays level for years and years. I don't know why. The dollar is powerful in the Philippines.
Math, that's the end of today's show. I want to thank you. That was an absolute pleasure. Next week's show, send me a title. I'll put it in the... I love hearing about suggestions. And, you know, the other thing is, too, of course, you've been able to find love. We might ask you how to find a good Filipino lady. We could ask you let's think of some topics.
Okay.
Matt, it's a pleasure having you on. Thank you to Black Cat for the 2 super chats, Black Cat 997. And guys, we will see you next week. Matt, thank
Archie,
you.
It's an honor to be here. Thank you very much. God bless everyone.
Thank you. Just stay back. I'll talk to you once we've ended. Ending it.
Well,
that was not a bad